like teabag's a principal of a high school or something. And I said, no, I don't, I mean, who would want to follow a psycho killer? And then they started naming all these shows yeah, like all these shows, and you go, oh my God, here's this guy who's, you know, a coroner, and he's killing people that deserve to die. So, the trick always was and is, don't judge them. And I'm respectful of an audience, so I don't, you know, tell bad things.
And second, which one did you prefer the most? T-Bag or the Sullivan?
Samuel Sullivan?
Yes.
They were both so different to me. Every role I hope is different. I'd like to say that I never do anything twice. Probably color sometimes of you know, guys that are the same. But there are millions and millions and millions of characters out there, and I've played like this many of them. I've got a lot more to play, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Irina. I want to know if you have ever thought to extract T-Bag from Prison Break and to put him in your own movie. I'm sure that we all love Prison Break, but we want to see a movie when T-Bag rules the world for sure, and not just in his mind.
T-Bag, the movie. You know, you remind me of that great movie years ago called Being There. I mean, here's this idiot, savant, that Peter Sellers played, who ends up, he's going to become president of the United States someday. Wouldn't it be interesting if somebody as crazy, as messed up as T-Bag actually became the president? There was kind of a joke for a while that, you know, that I would actually put out the campaign of T-Bag for president. Worst things can happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, someone asked about Heroes Reborn, and I wanted to ask you if you believe in the success of this new mini-series.
Who knows? You know, they're talking about it for X-Files, they're talking about it for Heroes, there's talk about it for Prison Break. It'll be interesting to see. 24, they did it. I think the dilemma for writers and the networks is you want to capitalize on the success of a show, but you shouldn't tell the same story. It has to go into the next chapter. If you don't give the audience something fresh, they're going to go, I know what you're doing. You're just making money, and we're not buying it.
So is it for sure that you will not be in Heroes Reborn?
I don't think I'm doing Heroes, no.
Okay, thank you.
Hello? You said earlier that your character in Prison Break had to tap in the part of the human being that sometimes enjoys violence. So I understand the difference between you as an actor and your character.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? I don't remember saying he enjoyed violence.
No, I said the fan base. That sometimes fans like watching...
Oh yeah, watching a train wreck,
Yes.
yeah.
What I wanted to say is that we live in an increasingly violent, homophobic, misogynistic, racist environment, and did you ever doubt on taking on this role?
I didn't think of it like I was doing the world a disfavor by playing the role. I thought of it as I needed to support my family. Yeah.
My name is Diana. After 42 minutes spent at this panel, I have come to this microphone with one goal, to ask a question about Arrow. I'm just very curious what the atmosphere is like on the CW set, because CW is the young, hip television network with vampires and superheroes, and specifically if there were any differences between the set for Arrow, which is the dark Big Brother, and how the people worked and how the people interacted on the Flash set.
Well, let me answer it in a more general way. No matter what show you work on, you have a feeling when you're working on a hit show and when you're not working on a hit show, no matter what network it is. You hope that it's going to be a hit, no matter whether the audience is mostly kids or the huge demographic that everybody in America wants, which is 18 to 49 years old. There was a very big difference between when I worked on the show Cult for CW and when I worked on one episode of Arrow and one episode of Flash with maybe more to come. You ride that wave of success, no matter what network you are on, whether it's geared more towards kids or more towards adults. And both those shows shoot in Vancouver, which is known for great crews. The crew on both of those shows is top-notch. They're top-notch in LA too, but there's something about shows in Vancouver that I really want this to work. Everybody worked their butts off on the show Cult that I did, where I played the lead. It was hard to say because all these shows were in the can before it even aired. When I came along on Arrow, boom! It was already a hit. So it's like a well-oiled machine. You're out there going, yeah, baby, I'm on a good show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Leah,
Hello.
and I'm gonna give you a break from D-Bag.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about your role in Stalking Voyager, about Bob. Nobody asked you about that, so.
Okay. That's a hard one to talk about because it's old.
Yeah.
And all I really remember about that was the makeup for that.
The car makeup, I was gonna ask.
The makeup took about
Hours.
5 hours to put on me, 4 or 5 hours, and it was in the heat of summer. And those things don't breathe. All I remember thinking was the guy needs a dermatologist really, really badly because it's just, you can't even tell it's me except for my eyes. I just felt like I was in a bucket of goop the whole time. I was honored to be on it because I had done the other Star Trek, Next Generation. It was my first television gig.
That was the first one?
That was the first one. I had hair like Johnny Depp, and I was 25, 26 years old. I had no idea what I was doing, and the director said, "Don't worry, you're going to be okay."
You got it right the first time, maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
And then we want to talk about
Hello, my name is Mike, and I wanted to ask you a question about Hitman. The question is about this. Did you have problems like learning the accent or doing the Russian? Because it was really, really authentic.
Oh, thank you.
We're Romanians and we can smell bad Russian.
You know, one goal I had in mind was, as long as I don't come off as bad as Sean Connery did, it's just submarine movie. No, I put a lot into accents when I worked on them. I spent, I was over there in Bulgaria. I was over there. I was up. Where's Bulgaria? Up?
Down.
Down. Down, down?
Down.
Down in Bulgaria! Oh, up! Okay, up in Bulgaria! I wanted to nail that thing. I wanted people to think that I was Russian. And I figured, you know, if you're a Russian, you're going to know I'm not Russian. But I maybe got the rest of the world, so it's kind of like going to war. You know, I figured like, okay, if I lose Russia, it's fine, but I got the rest of the world thinking I'm Russian. And the funny thing is that when I was doing press for Prison Break, there was a Russian journalist that I met and said, when he saw that movie, he said, wow, where did they get that Russian actor who looks a lot like T-Bag?
It was really authentic.
I worked very hard at trying to get that right, and I had a Bulgarian teacher who had spent a lot of time in Russia, and we worked, I don't know, 2-3 hours a day for about 2 weeks before I started the shooting movie. We're in Bulgaria, and we would have gone longer, except he kept drinking. So after 3 hours, he would say something. He said, "But he didn't say it that way." He said, "Sukin sin." I said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Sukin sin." So it was it's very hard to nail him down after 3 hours of it. Thank you.
My question is about acting. It might be a little dull, but anyway. Why do you think some actors are really underrated and some others are overrated? Because that happens a lot and it's quite unpleasing, I guess.
Well, you know, some people say that about me. But the fact is, I think it's about the opportunities that you get. You need a couple big breaks, and then you're rated pretty well. If I could put butts in the seat of a theater or in front of a television, then I'm not overrated. I'm rated, which is a good thing. You never can predict it. You never can tell what. Like 20 years I was doing gigs, and then Prison Break happened. I got my break with Prison Break. Those breaks need to keep happening. There are a lot of actors. There's not as many movies being made. There's more television being made, but because there's more television, there's a lot to choose from, so people can easily, you know, switch the dial and move to another show. We got to get you like right away to captivate you for that show. So I don't think there's any one thing you can do. You got to do it because you love it, and you can't say, oh, I did this because I want to be famous or because I want to make money. If you do, you're screwed, because chances are you're not going to be rated at all. Okay?
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
While playing villains who have a very complex character, and spending so much time on set playing them, how do you get in and out of character? Do you have some sort of ritual? For example, after you wrap up, you go home and you come in the next morning?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. To me, there are two major schools of acting. One is you are the guy, or you're imagining you're the guy. And I come from a school of thought, I live the way Sanford Meisner teaches and taught, was live truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And once you know in your head that it's imaginary, you can create this safe little bubble around yourself, like I did when I played somebody as violent as Teabag. I was in literally like a big bubble. And I'd say, I'm safe in this bubble. One, I'm not going to hurt anybody. That's the golden rule in acting. You never physically hurt. I accidentally hit somebody in the eyebrow once and drew blood, and I almost cried like a baby because I'm so sorry, man, I'm so sorry I hit you. Because you don't hurt anybody. You could hurt them with words, but you don't hurt them with a punch. And at the end of the day, playing a role like, say, that role, is you say, okay, the bubble is gone, and I go home. And at that time, my boy was about 3. And as soon as I heard him say, Papa, I was Papa. I was Robert, and not Teabag. And that's very easy to do, because when you got a kid, you're just like, oh, come here, let me hug you. And it's, sorry, I get emotional talking about my kid.
A lot of us saw Prison Break by downloading from torrents. I don't think more than 2 seasons were on TV here in Romania. What are your views about piracy?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, everybody steals.
It's a good thing or
it's a horrible thing.
But without piracy,
you're making me not get my residual check. You know, I mean, but the fact is, look, everybody, it's a horrible thing. What are you going to do? You know, there's all these safeguards they're trying to put into place. China steals more than anybody. We all steal music.
After Romania.
After
Romania, China steals.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the way the future of Netflix and everything is going to be, that's the future. You're gonna get a whole bunch of these things ahead of time. When I shot a Hitman in Bulgaria, I asked my press agent, I said, is anybody going to know me in Bulgaria? Because, you know, it gets a little tiring. Like every second, every step I take, somebody knows me. She said, no, don't worry. It's not on yet in Bulgaria. It starts airing next week. I get off the plane, I go to customs, and the guy says, hello, welcome to Bulgaria, Robert. Because everybody had already seen it. They'd gone online, they bootlegged it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All actors want to keep working. The way we're going to keep working on television is the networks have to make money. And then the way networks have made money is through commercials. If you don't have to watch commercials, they got to make money somewhere else, and they know that. Netflix is that style of binge watching is not the wave of the future, it's the wave right now. And you better get on it, because it's happening.
We're waiting for Netflix to come in Romania.
Oh, you don't have it here? No! You should steal it! Thank you very much.
You know, like you were recording over there. Would you mind describe us about that?
About
the recording you were doing?
Oh yeah. I was going to segue into it. Do we have time? Yeah. I was going to segue into it, but I'm going to put that out on Twitter about you guys going nuts. And maybe I scared you all by saying, don't ask me any questions I've been asked before. You asked me some great questions tonight. But one of the questions that I thought we were going to talk about is somebody would say, is there any advice you can give me as an actor or as a writer? And I know there are a lot of people out there that talk about it and dream about it. And trust me, sometimes I tell long stories, but it'll get to the applause. I hope. I just want to say that, first off, there's a great book that you should read if you love acting and you love writing, if you love anything that you care about that you want to do in your life. And it's by Rilke, R-I-L-K-E. It's a sort of a Bible for actors. It's called Letters to a Young Poet. And it's a series of letters that a young poet wrote to Rilke and asked him, do you think my poems are any good? And Rilke, in this one letter, I'm paraphrasing, sorry, but he wrote to him saying, you asked me if I think your poetry is any good. You have asked others. I beg of you, stop doing that. Stop asking others if I think your work is any good. Ask yourself, must I write? Must I write? So when I read that book, I go, must I act? Must I be a doctor? Must I be a lawyer? Must I do anything, any dream that you have about what you want to do in your life? Ask yourself, must I do it? If the answer comes back, yes, then live your life in accordance with that dream or that goal. And what I think he was writing about was what I was just saying. Don't do something because you're going to make money at it. Don't do it because you're going to be famous. Do it because you absolutely have to. Because trust me, being an actor, it took 20 years for me to get my break with Prison Break. It may not have happened. And it would have been very sad for me to, after 20 years, to say, you know what, I'm going to give up. And I felt that I had something in me, but I didn't know when and how it would come out. And I survived, I lived, I paid my bills by acting, but it was always a struggle. And if I hadn't been in it for the right reasons, I would have lost it. I would have blown my brains out probably. Or I would have been very sad and been on antidepressants for the rest of my life because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, because I didn't have the goal in mind the right way. The second thing that I want to say is that about anybody who wants to pursue something that they feel is a dream, is don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Don't give up. Keep dreaming and keep going. A lot of your pictures that I wrote on, I say follow your dreams or follow your goals, especially the younger kids. I would write that on the pictures. It's really important to hear that. And I remember when I was in New York, when I moved from Chicago to New York, and there's a thing called the Ross Reports, which in it gives all the agencies that you could leave your picture, that you could try to reach in order for them to take you on as a client. And all the Ross Reports listings for agencies said, do not leave your picture and resume. Do not leave it. So what did I do? I put on my rollerblades and I skated to all those agencies that I thought maybe were good, and I left my picture and resume. And one of them called me out of 100. That was my first agency. Everything led to something else. So I get my first agent. And then I thought the next thing that's really important that I learned to do was when you get an audition, when you have something that you want to show somebody your work, your product, prepare, do the work, ask yourself, ask your subconscious, what would I do that's very specifically me for this part? Not what Robert De Niro would do, or James Dean would do, or Marilyn Monroe would do, or Meryl Streep would do. Not imitate those people, but be yourself. That's the trickiest thing with acting. It's the easiest thing once you learn how to do that, how to learn to get in touch with your subconscious. But once you've got that understanding, acting is easy. Because all you have to do is say, they may like me, and they may not, but I'm going to give you what I feel is me. Within the confines of that character. Not everything in me I could put into Teabag. Teabag, one small part of me was Teabag, but I could imagine all these other parts. So the other thing that I remember is Woody Allen said, when somebody asked Woody Allen once, how do you get a job? And he said, show up on time. And it's kind of true, because I know when I'm on time, it makes the producers happy. It makes the casting directors happy. It makes the directors happy. If I'm not on time, they're watching their watch while I'm doing my audition. I'm going into the audition going, all I'm thinking about is, damn, I was late. Oh, I was late. I wish I hadn't been late. Instead of my audition. So then the next bit of it was, so I get this job. Now what do I do? And one of the things I learned on my first job I tell you was Star Trek. That was on television, but my first job was on a movie directed by the legendary great Blake Edwards, who did Days of Wine and Roses, all the Pink Panther movies, 10, Victor Victoria, beautiful, beautiful movies. And the movie starred Julie Andrews and Jack Lemmon, and they were gifts, I feel, to be those two giants, to be acting with Mary Poppins, and, Maria from Sound of Music, and the amazing Jack Lemmon. It was such a joy to work with them because they had so much. And the lesson that I've always learned as an actor is when you have a lot to give, you should give a lot to other people. The sign of success for a person, and no matter what career they decide to do, is their ability to give to other people. Instead of being an asshole, instead of being an actor that says, I'm not coming out of my trailer. You know what? I didn't get that water just the right temperature, and I'm not coming out of my trailer. That's bullshit. Once you have success, and even if you don't have the biggest success in the world, the more you can give, the better. And I think that one of the greatest lessons in life and in acting I ever learned was that there is responsibility. It's the old cliche, with great power comes great responsibility. When I was 25 years old, 30 years ago, I was fortunate to be in a company in America called the Actors Theater of Louisville, which is in Kentucky. And that summer that I was with them, I was in an exposition of theater that any city in the world could have bought. And that exhibition was about American theater. It was about specifically New York theater, Broadway, but then something very specific to America, which is a regional, what we call a regional theater, which Actors Theater Louisville was one. And within that exhibition, people would learn how a regional theater is run, and then within that part of the exhibition was a tent. And within that tent were live plays that were done. And I was lucky to be one of the actors in this troupe of actors. And Cluj, Romania was the town that I came to. So 30 years ago, 25 years of age, a very young, very green, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, actor, was with this company that came to your country. And on the first night that we were here, we were guests of Ceausescu at the opening night of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at your National Theater. And your lead actor played Chief. I don't know if you know the movie or not. You might probably know the movie. There's a very, very famous scene where Chief pulls, it's all these crazy, insane people, right? And they just want to break out. And Chief takes this sink from the wall. He pulls this sink, this huge sink. He's this huge man, and he pulls the sink out of the wall. And he picks up the sink and he throws it through the window. And all of these crazy people escape through that window. I was in the first row of the balcony. At the moment that he threw that sink through the window, the audience started clapping. And they didn't clap like you did. They clapped in a very measured way. And if you would, please, right now, I wish you could bring back a memory for me. If you could clap like I see, and remember in Russians, the Russians doing clap, clap. The audience, keep it slow, very strong and measured. Calm. In the audience, they're all, you're gonna make me cry. Okay, but that kept going for about 5 minutes, and lining the theater down below were these pimply-faced, like 16, 17-year-old kids carrying AK-47s, looking nervously around, because your country, in 1985, had 4 more years before the powder keg blew, before the roof blew off, and you shot him and his wife dead. But in 1985, it was the tension, those of you who are alive know, it was unbelievable. And as a young American, to come here and to witness that, to see that there was absolutely nothing these soldiers could do because it was all disguised as a metaphor, the sense of wanting to be free. 4 years later, you had a revolution. And that applause changed. Last night I met a lot of you at this party, and I've met a lot of you this weekend. And two sweet ladies that I met last night, I was thinking about when I was thinking about this today, and I don't mean to embarrass either of you, but it's great for this story. One said, "I'm so tall. I'm sorry I'm so tall. I don't want to be so tall." And, hello, you're right there. And another sweet lady said, "I'm very shy. I'm very shy." And one, right there, hello. And what I want to say to you both, and I want to say to everyone in this audience, is that it's okay to feel that way. It's okay. And it's a very humble feeling to say that. But what that man did when he pulled that sink out of the wall and he threw that sink out the window, and what 1,100 people did of paying for their lives in 1989 so that you could stand tall and that you could be shy but also let yourself shine, was exactly what I do as an actor. I'm nervous as shit right now. I'm nervous as hell. I'm crying inside because it was such an emotional thing for me, and it took such responsibility for that man. He could have been shot on the spot, but he didn't, and he wasn't. And he took that sink, and what I'm saying to you is when you say, "I want to do something," do it. Because your country, more than any other country I know in very recent history, people died for you to be able to stand tall. And for you to say, "Yes, I'm shy, but I'm going to fight through it." And I, as an actor, do that every day. And thank you. From the bottom of my heart, 30 years later, to come back to your country and to hear you applaud like crazy instead of going boom, boom, boom. You have that freedom now And I'm saying, carry that